Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Shalette Renee Griffin. I'm the founder of Weymouth Hope Publishing. I'm also a Gen X fiction writer who write about systems that silence the Black voices and Black experiences. This channel focuses on Black writers who use the art of writing to protest systems that suppress the African American way of life. So if that sounds great to you, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. In celebration of Black History Month, I'm creating 4 videos. It's a series called The Silent Switch Off, in which I explore why AI images like ChatGPT often reject Black historical prompts, and I also will discuss the strategies to better create prompts in order to generate those Black historical images. So, and also I would go ahead and talk about the difference between a people-based prompt and a environmental-based prompt. And as a writer, I've been experimenting with ChatGPT for about 6 months now, just to help generate images. So when I write my articles on Substack, and I'll go ahead and talk about some of the problems that I encounter while I try to create images, specifically Black historical images to go with my articles on Substack. So this video will be, well, the episode will be the foundation of the rest of the series. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So in my January 4th Substack article, I actually talk about the issue that I had when I tried to generate this reenactment of the 1950s sit-in lunch counter protest. And I had to, I had to, I guess, reiterate, they call it, the prompt like 5, 6, 7 times. I'm not kidding, because ChatGPT would not generate it because it kept saying that I was violating their guidelines based on the wording that I was using in the prompt. And the word that I used was angry. I had said that the servers, uh, the folks in the restaurant were angry at the Black students sitting at the counter, and so ChatGPT did not like that, and so and a result of that, it wouldn't generate the image, and so I had to figure out, this is before I knew that the word angry is what was triggering, I guess, the red flag. And so what I did was actually go ahead and actually type in and to ask ChatGPT, what exactly am I violating? Because I didn't understand it, because historically it's true that, you know, the white folks, in that establishment, they were upset with the Black students, and the word upset, and that's an understatement. They were mad, they were upset, and they were angry at the Black students. So, from a historical perspective, that's true. So even though, my prompt was historically accurate, ChatGPT still would not generate the image because it was, it considered, how can I say it, the emotion was, the anger was directed towards people, and so that was the issue. And so if it was directed toward an object or things, I would have been fine. But ChatGPT doesn't like it when prompts are emotions, negative emotions are directed towards people. And so that was crazy to me. And I learned that when I had to ask it about the guidelines, that were there. And so I'm going to go ahead and switch screens. All right, folks. So now we're going to discuss the difference between a people based prompt and an environmental based prompt. And of course, you can probably figure out just based on the name, but the people based prompt is really focusing on the individual, is focusing on the attributes of the person, is focusing on the characteristics of the person. And, that's pretty much what a people prompt is, the motivations of the person. The environmental based prompt, well, is focused on the environment, is focusing on the physical space. And as you can see on the screen, there's both elements of that in the 1950s lunch sitting counter prompt, which is on your screen. And when you talk about the people based prompt, there's elements of basically showing their posture is calm and resolute, hands rested and folded on the counter. The server stands stiffly with her crossed arms, body language tense. Those are all the physicalities of a person. And so when you create a prompt, you need both the people based and the environmental. And because one without the other, you're not going to have a strong prompt. And if one, like, if the prompt is too heavily uh, focused on people to the point where you're focusing on the emotion, like I did, when I first created a prompt, ChatGPT is not going to like that. In fact, the third paragraph where it says behind the counter, a server stands stiffly with crossed arms, that particular line, I basically described, I wrote and said that the server was angry. And I talked about, her eyes, how they were beady, the eyebrows were frowned, and I just made it clear that this woman was not happy that those brothers were sitting at the counter. And ChatGPT didn't like that. And so when we're prompting, we have to make sure that we are showing and not telling. As in the writing world, instead of saying that our character is angry, we describe they're angry. So, we say that the person's arms were crossed, their lips were poked out, the nostrils were flared, the eyebrows were frowning. And so those are the things that we're describing that someone is angry without coming out and saying they're angry. Because when someone reads those attributes, they're going to pick up, oh, this person's not happy. They're going to know that. And so, same thing with prompting, especially prompting for African American images. And so we can't come out and say, I'm just thinking, you know, uh, on the Edmund Pettus Bridge that the police officer, was angry and not angry, but was angry, and start, you know, hitting his, well, I can't say hitting his stick, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. You have to really show that the person is angry instead of telling. And so that's going to be the key, when we put together our prompts for African American images. And so, as you can see here, from an environmental prompting perspective, I talk about the environment. The last line, I even talk about the lighting. That's important. In addition to, talking about the physical place being at a lunch counter, because what I'm finding now, the when you talk about the environment can speak to emotion. Instead of having to directly talk about it, the environment itself can talk about what's going on emotionally. So in prompting, you want to, be a master at being able to use the environment to tell your story. And so this is one of the reasons why, I'm creating a video, because that's pretty much what I learned, how to use the environment to really come out and say what's going on emotionally. As writers, it's very important for us to understand the community guidelines within ChatGPT, because we don't want anything that's going to interfere with us telling our story. Because right now we are in a climate where you know, the black experience and the black quality of life is being suppressed. And so in order to write as a protest and being able to use, ChatGPT to generate images to support your story, we have to make sure that we understand what the guidelines are, because artificial intelligence, yes, it is a form of suppression, because we have to look at who was training the model. And so a lot of our experience is not being trained in the model. So as you saw with the 1950 sit-in, the lunch counter protest, that even though the server being angry is historically accurate, but artificial intelligence said no. It rejected it as if I was saying that the event was inaccurate. So we have to learn how to navigate, you know, artificial intelligence in order for our story to continue to be told. So this is what's driving me to make these videos. And so I thank you all for hanging out with me, and I hope it blessed you with some knowledge that you can use in your writing. And so again, next video, we're going to talk about the six prompt framework. So we're going to break down what goes into a prompt, and we're going to define each piece so you know how to put together a strong prompt. And so I hope to see you guys in the next video. And speaking of dystopia in writing, I have my book that's coming out, The $10 Million Black Exodus, and our Kickstarter starts on April 1st. And it's a dystopian novel, and it sets in the year 2052, and it really focuses on the government that tells us that pretty much that it can no longer protect the civil liberties of African American people. And as a result, is paying black families $10 million to leave the United States and to live on an Allied reservation. And the Allied reservations are not what they're cracked up to be. But I just encourage anybody, if you like dystopian fiction, go to the Kickstarter page and just to read it, and hopefully you'll hit the notification button to learn more of when the launch will take place, and just information that will come out prior to the launch. And so I will drop that in the link in the description as well. Our book book trailer is already out. So I'll go ahead and drop the link to the trailer in the description as well. And so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it blessed you a certain way. And I will see you in the next video, video 2.